All right, I want to start off. Who knows the story of Samson and Delilah? Right? It's a familiar story in the Bible, one that we teach our kids. But I want to start off that story with Samson's birth. Right? Samson's mother was barren. She couldn't have kids. But then she was told, you're going to give birth to a son. Right? Samson's birth is a miracle. Right? You're going to give birth to a son, and he is going to be a Nazarite dedicated to God from the womb, right? And he will lead the Israel people out of the hands of the Philistines. And so on top of that, he's a strong guy, right? Samson, the Lord had big plans for Samson, right? He had huge plans for him. That's no doubt. But Samson, even though he was strong and he had all these plans for him, he had struggles of his own, right? He was human. He had sins of his own. He struggled with temptation. He struggled with a lot of stuff. And the 3 chapters in the Bible that we hear about Samson in Judges, we hear about 3 different women. We hear about his wife, we hear about the prostitute, and we hear about Delilah. And so today, I want to talk a little bit about Delilah and Samson. And so the Philistines, when they heard about Delilah, they went to Delilah, said, hey, we're going to give you all this silver if you can find out the secret of his strength. So what did Delilah do? She went to Samson and said, Samson, tell me what makes you so strong and how you can be tied down, right? That should have been a red flag right there for Samson. But instead of leaving or telling her, I can't tell you that, he decided, okay, I'm going to stay in the sin. I'm just kind of going to maybe tease a little bit, lie to her. I'm going to tell her. So he says, if you 7 fresh bowstrings, you tie me up with that's never been dried, I'll become as weak as any other man. So Delilah went to the Philistines and they said, okay, he told me. They go, they tie Samson up, and then Delilah goes, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. Wake up. And so Samson woke up, snapped out. And Delilah said, Samson, you have made a fool out of me. You have lied to me. That should be instant there. She just admitted to tying him up. Right? She just admitted to her wrongdoing. And yet Samson stayed with her. And she ends up saying, now tell me what it is that makes you strong. Samson does the same thing. Goes, well, okay, it wasn't the bowstrings. It was new ropes, never before used. So they tie Samson up with that. Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And what happens? She snaps out again. Says, Samson, you have lied to me again. She admits again. You have lied to me again. Right? Quit making a fool of me. Tell me what makes you so strong. So then Samson starts getting closer to the real secret, starts talking about his hair now. And says, look, if you weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric on your loom and tighten it, I'll become as weak as any other man. And so they did that. Samson broke out again, right? And Delilah says, how can you say that you love me when you won't tell me this one secret? When you won't even share this with me? And so after constant nagging and nagging and nagging, finally, this is what happened. And this is where our verses come in. It's in Judges 16, 17 through 20. It goes like this. So he told her everything. No razor has ever been used on my head, he said, because I have been a Nazarite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. When Delilah saw that he had told her everything, some versions say with his heart, she sent word to the rulers of the Philistines, come back once more. He has told me everything. So the rulers of the Philistines returned with silver in their hands. After putting him to sleep on her lap, she called for someone to shave off the 7 braids of his hair. And his strength he got weak, and his strength left him. Then she called, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. He awoke from his sleep and thought, I will go out as before and shake myself free. But he did not know that the Lord has left him. I want to talk about Samson thinking that he would just go off as he did before and shake himself free. Samson was living in this life of sin. It started off small, and there was no repercussions at first that he could see. It started off small, and he just continued to live in it. And the sin continued to grow and grow and grow until it overtook him. And that's how sin works in our lives. The devil likes to tell us our sin is so small it won't hurt anything. This little sin's not as bad as in comparison to this. Right? That's what the devil likes to tell us. But the truth is that all sin is bad because all sin, big or small, separates us from God. That's what sin does. It makes us walk away from God. Right? And so we all have sin in our life that maybe, we're already down, we're already consumed by sin. Maybe we're at the very beginning. Maybe we're in the temptation stage. No matter what stage it is, we cannot handle it on our own. We're not big enough. We're not strong enough to handle it on our own. So when we get into that stage or we see that we're sinning or we're tempted, we need to cry out to someone stronger. We need to cry out to the Lord. And it reminds me of Peter walking to the Lord on the lake. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. He was walking, started to have his doubt, and he started to sink. And the waves started to consume, and he reached his hand out and said, Lord, help me. Immediately, the Lord reached down and helped him. Now, when the Lord helps us, reaches and saves us, that doesn't mean start fresh again with that sin. Right? At Hume Lake, Ministry, we learned we got to remain in the Lord. We're told, I am the vine, you are the branches, remain in me, and I in you. Samson didn't remain in the Lord. What he did was he walked away, and so the Lord left him. Right? The Lord didn't leave him because Samson was doing the right things. Samson left the Lord because he was doing the wrong things. And I want to end with this. I want to talk about this. Jeremiah 29:11 says, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Just like Samson. Samson had a plan. The Lord had a plan for Samson. Each and every one of us, the Lord has a plan for. He tells us that. He tells us, I have a plan for you. But unlike Samson, we can't be consumed in our sin. We can't be living in our sin. The Lord has a plan for us. So I just ask you guys today, let's take a look and see our lives. What is separating us from God? Right? What sin is it that's separating us from God? Let's not continue to live in that sin, but let's cry out for help. And not only just cry out for help, when the Lord helps us, let's remain in Him. Let's get rid of that sin in our life. Let's remain in the Lord because we're not strong enough to do it on our own. Thank you, guys.